Hi, I'm Ian Coxhead from University of Wisconsin-Madison, Department of Ag and Applied Economics and East Asian.
Sandi Siegel, president of MEJ. We're providing import, export, and compliance services to Wisconsin's trade community for over 100 years. Ian, I think today we want to talk a little bit we're in Talking Trade, and we're going to talk about the recent council closings, Houston and Chengdu.
Right. Well, that was very big news a week or two ago. Tit for tat consulate closings, one in the US, one in retaliation, I guess, in Chengdu, China. And I guess those are at least for today, those are the latest rounds in the now quite long-running trade war between the United States and China, something that has certainly gained a tremendous amount of traction under the Trump administration. I think it's really helpful for us to go back a little way and look at the really big long-term picture on U.S.-China trade. First thing we have to remember is that China's rise as a trading power is a very recent thing. It's basically one generation. So since the early 1990s, China went from virtually zero share of world trade up to being the world's largest trading power just a few years ago. And that's a consequence of big policy changes in China that opened it up to trade, but also a consequence of the demographic dividend, the availability of a very large workforce of less fully employed people in China at the beginning of that period, combined with foreign capital largely and foreign technology to make China the factory to the world. So that huge rise in China as a trading power in the global economy is the backdrop against which we see the current set of tensions rising. Obviously, the US feels challenged by China in a number of ways. Some of those ways are legitimate, I think, and some of them maybe have to do more with the long sweep of history. Those legitimate challenges, I think, are really interesting. They are forced technology transfer by Chinese companies, the involvement of the Chinese government in private transactions, subsidies on Chinese companies, that kind of thing. But then most of the trade dispute that we've seen recently has not been about those, but have been about other things.
I would agree, and certainly subsidies have been an issue for many years in trade, and they're realized here with imposition of anti-dumping duties. That's been active for quite a while. But the recent 301 duties imposed and these punitive duties on China has what's really escalated the trade wars, as you refer to them. And like the council closing, many are calling this a tit for tat argument with China, and I'd have to agree in many regards, to that effect. I would also agree that the real impetus for the 301 was some of these restrictions to trade, but also a lot was driven by intellectual property right and protection for U.S. Stakeholders. And also the whole China initiative of the Made in China 2025. Yeah. And that's, also getting a lot of attention. And I think you made the point that we, as an economy, feel threatened by China and the power they're gaining. And with that 2025, mentality, feeling the need to gain some footings here in the U.S. So I am not sure what your thoughts are on that 2025 initiative.
Well, I think it's been a bigger headline in the U.S. than it probably needs to be. I mean, a lot of the engagement by the Chinese government in the 2025 initiative is not that different from what we see in the United States or in Europe as well. It's, for example, public sector subsidies for technology development and the application of that technology to new products and new activities. Well, we do that in this country as well. So, part of it is rhetorical, I think, and part of it is genuinely concerned with, bad practices on the part of the Chinese government.
Sure. It's a tough conversation to have without showing your political bias. I'll say that. I know I'm always trying to be very careful. We've seen it it's been a dramatic impact on our customers, both on the import and the export side. So it's hard to feel like there's any winners. And, on the import side, customers who are trying to bring in parts for manufacture or finished goods for retail are paying these highly punitive damages. It's not easy to change your supply chain overnight. And then because China's retaliated with also, punitive tariffs, our export, companies and customers are being impacted on the export side. So again, it's hard to see any winners from our perspective with, our trade customers. Not sure if you see it differently in the world of, economics.
Not at all. I think one manufacturing producer in Michigan summed it up really nicely. He said that the U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum, the initial set of tariffs going in, coming right off of their bottom line, and then the retaliation by China in the form of new tariffs on U.S. products exported to that country is coming right off their top line. And I think that's a very good way to summarize the kinds of losses that all firms are experiencing. Not to mention consumers, of course, who are paying higher prices right across the board, both because of the higher imported input prices and because of the restrictions on Chinese exports of finished goods as well. So it's not good for anybody.
Yes, I would agree. And there are many speculating whether the election will, have an impact on that. And I think we're all anxious to see, where we stand, where we land after the election. So, and certainly coming off of, the heels of COVID, it will be very telling.
That's right. It's clear during the upcoming election cycle that the issue of China is going to be highly politicized, even more than it is now, and that's probably not good for trade relations in the long run.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for more on China and other trade updates, and that's Talking Trade. See you next time.
Thanks, Sandi. See you next time too. Bye, everybody.